Cyclone Nation, what better way to kick off the 2025 college football season than cheering on your Cyclones in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland? Whether it's a quick trip to Dublin for the game, a multi-city adventure throughout the Irish countryside, or premium game day hospitality, there is a package for you. Visit cyclones2ireland.com for information on official travel and hospitality packages. That's Cyclones, the number 2, Ireland.com.
Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit terraplexag.com.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
Feels like a Horns-worthy Sunday. You're 4-0, 16th ranked, first place, Iowa State Cyclones. My name is Chris Williams. I'm joined as always by Brent Blum. We are presented by our friends at Mechdyne, enabling discovery. Encourage you to enable this. I don't even know what that means. Brent Blum joins me. He's back from Houston.
Lovely time in Houston. Lovely. It was a lovely, lovely trip. We missed you, pal.
I would have loved to have been there.
I had, I swear, probably 50 people come up to me. Where's Williams?
Yeah, I know. It's embarrassing.
No, but it was great.
I'm embarrassed.
Actually, man, and you know this because, you know, you're out and about, even on the road especially, the amount of people that came up and said hi and almost all of them said, I watch you every week. I was like, watch? I was like, yeah, on YouTube. So
a lot of people are doing it, man.
The YouTube is coming.
It's changing everything. It is now the number one place in the world where people consume podcasts.
It's crazy to me, but so thank you to everybody that said hello, and there was a great representation of Iowa State fans there, and it was fun. Like, it was real. I'm telling you guys, the best way to kind of enjoy being a fan is on the road. Okay,
totally
Jack's great, Hilton's great, but it just feels different, where it's like you and your people, kind of against everybody else. And honestly, the Houston people are all super hospitable. Didn't have a bad experience.
I feel like they should be. Like, like they feel like a little bit like an Iowa State fan was 25 years ago, where it's like they've done all like they just don't get a lot of attention there, and like what are you cocky about, right? Like you're happy to embrace people, and I mean it feels like that. I've met a couple of the guys who cover Houston and have pretty good run-ins with them. So what nice was the whole area like?
It's an urban campus, clearly. So it's kind of wedged in there. The tailgating scene was average. I mean, just a little bit like Iowa City in that it's more urban areas where there was houses, not a whole lot of just tailgate parking in the lots. They actually had an interesting area where all the fraternities and sororities each had a tent that kind of circled the stadium where they all congregated a little bit. They had a similar situation in C-Dub that we saw with the Vikings, where they had a beer garden right outside the stadium, which was neat. It felt like almost like a mini NFL, less of a college atmosphere to me. But they do a nice job. It's a super nice stadium, newish, smaller. And then they actually had self-serve beer. It was one of those marketplace areas where you would walk in, they'd check your ID, you'd weigh it, and you would just pay. Like, they didn't really have staff.
So it was like draft beer?
No, it was just cans, but you
Oh,
put it
okay.
on the
I was
scale
gonna
like you're
say,
yeah.
geez, that sounds
No,
messy.
like you're checking out at like you do at Fairway anymore, right? Where you just put it
Yeah.
on the thing, self checkout, and you just go. So I was impressed with the number of beer vendors they had and the lack of crowds. Now again, there wasn't a huge attendance, so they figured out that portion of the concessions, and it was good. It was a nice little atmosphere, and the game was interesting. It was very workmanlike for Iowa State, and Iowa State did what they needed to do, and clearly looked the part of a team that's just better than Houston. I don't think Iowa State played well, but got it done, and fourth quarter was not dramatic at all.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A lot of thoughts on this game, and look forward to talking it over with you. We are in the Wild Rose Casino Studios, presented as always by our friends at Mechdyne. Check them out at mechdyne.com, MECHDYNE.com. Go and buy yourself a bottle of Cyclone Fanatic themed Cody Road as well for the big whiteout weekend against Baylor, who's coming to town. Also want to let you know, and I want to thank everybody. We just had the best week in the history of our Cyclone Fanatic shop.
Awesome.
Best week in history. We rolled out some white Cyclones versus the world, one of the old school white logos on a hoodie, and really want to thank everybody that it helps our company survive and to bring you free podcasts like this and to bring on, like Jirel and Jake and Colin. They're doing their Inside Zone. Like none of that's free. We pay our help, and like that. It's such a big deal when we can have a week like that. And same with the guys over at Perry at Graphics to You, just a mom and pop printing shop. Nothing we're doing here is big time. So we really appreciate it, and really high quality stuff too. We're changing some of the fabric that we're working with and getting some higher quality brands to print on our shirts. And I'm excited for the upcoming holiday season because we got some cool stuff. I will say this, CW designed hats coming to,
What?
we're going to have a few drops coming up here in the next couple of weeks. I'm
Yeah.
I'm now taking my talent. That what you're wearing is a CW designed hat.
Did they have
Yeah.
ropes on them? The rope hat?
One of them has a rope. Actually, yeah, one of them does have a rope. The other one does not. So, but we're
Solid.
doing a lot of like limited edition stuff where we're only going to sell like 100 of them, and when they're gone, they're gone. I'm excited about it. So thank you to everybody for that.
Yeah.
It was a really good week for our company in that
Saw
sense.
a lot of Cyclones versus the world shirts down in Houston.
They're the best thing we have. Like I'm telling you, like it. That is my favorite thing we've ever done. Is the Cyclones versus the world brand, and we need more of it. It needs to be painted everywhere.
Don't you feel like I feel like now is like your top 16 team undefeated, and you're already getting the haters. The haters.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't matter what Iowa State does. There's going to be haters, so that's where it comes from.
They're picking on the Big 12 already. So
well,
can't wait.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's rightfully so, but I will say, and we'll get to our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment, but this league is exactly what we thought it would be, as far as kind of eating itself from within. And hope you listened to Guess the Point Spreads last week because we called the Arizona win over Utah. Thank you very much. We both loved that one. And Utah's a different team without Cam Rising. They're not very good. Like they're like a good team without him. And when you see what Oklahoma State was like in Manhattan, it's like that win doesn't look nearly as impressive from a week ago.
We've almost this was a recalibration Saturday for me. It's like, who's good?
Mm-hmm.
I think Iowa State is like the safest bet. I don't know.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not predicting Iowa State's going to win the whole thing, but I honestly think Iowa State is the safest bet of everybody right now.
Well,
I mean, predictable.
I guess we could just start with our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Let's just do that, and then we'll get into the game. Sure. Plant your independence, plant Wiffles. And thank you to our great farmers in the state of Iowa, who I know are a busy, busy time, but it looks like y'all are going to have some beautiful weather this week, like no chance of rain. So go and get that knocked out. Although it's much more difficult than that. I just summed up harvest in like 10 words. No, to your point, I think Iowa State is the safest bet right now, but I also the caveat that it's just like I just watched Colorado win as a 14.5 point underdog. I really don't feel like there's a layups there's layups coming for Iowa State. I feel like those are in the rearview mirror. Even this Baylor team, like I'm thinking that they've gassed out on Aranda at this point because of their showing. But I also like usually these teams bounce back before the cat dies,
Yeah.
and and maybe that was starting in the second half. You still have to go to West Virginia. You like that Central Florida team, while I'm not blown away by them, but they have an identity, right? Like they can that what they're doing travels. And then so in the Big 12, Iowa State is still second favorite to win the conference behind Utah. And a lot of people go, well, why is that? Well, because they're banking on Utah being favored over Iowa State, and then that would give them the tiebreaker. But man, like if Utah doesn't have Cam Rising, can you really just assume that they're going to win out from here? That seems insane to me.
No, and he's starting to get heat from the fan base for Utah, thinking he's
Really?
being soft and not playing and just cashing NIL checks to not play. So, yeah, that's it can turn sideways on you. But he hasn't played. I mean, on his end, he hasn't played really in a year and a half. So, in the hand, it's a throwing hand. It's so that obviously as a quarterback, you need your throwing hand. I don't know what that means. The young guy is clearly not ready yet. I mean, he made some throws so that were nice, but they're not dynamic enough. Otherwise, they need Rising back, and even then, they showed some flaws defensively too against Arizona. I don't think they're a guarantee. I think they're a very solid team, but I'm looking up and down and it's like I don't even know anymore. I think keep coming back to it. I think Iowa State is the safest pick when you look at offense, defense, special teams. Cyclones have been the most consistent team in the conference so far. BYU
Utah's schedule, real quick, it is pretty soft. They go to Arizona State after a bye. I would presume after a bye that Rising would be back.
I mean, if he's not going to be back, then is the thing broken? Like, what is going on at that point?
Yeah. So that's October 11th, a Friday night game in Tempe. But then they get TCU at home. They have to go to Houston. They get the Holy War. They have to go to Colorado, which is a little iffy now, and then Iowa State, and then at Central Florida. So they don't have a brutal schedule, but it's like it kind of just depends on Rising. And I don't know. I think all of our predictions in the offseason about this league just beating itself up I think they're all going to be accurate.
I think really the only thing we do know is that Houston's offense is awful. Like that.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm not sure. Like, who's trying to do a power ranking for the Big 12 right now? Houston's last. I get that, but then
Iowa State has to be one.
Or is BYU though? BYU won on the road at SMU. I mean, that's a nice win. They're undefeated.
I know they're I'm not a huge believer in them.
I'm not either. But if you
I watched that whole game, the Baylor game.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like Baylor didn't even show up in the first half. Like they didn't want to be there. And I was watching all their insiders and stuff, and they had fired Aranda in the middle of the first quarter. They were like, it was over. The thing was done. So it's like, I don't know. Like I give BYU credit. They've won those games. They beat Kansas State. They did beat SMU. SMU was a different team in week 2 compared to now, but they did get the win and they took care of it. I am not a believer that team can be like a 2-loss team at the end of the year.
I agree with you. I think the same way about Colorado. That's a great win for them. I just don't think that thing is sustainable. I don't. Kansas clearly has issues. West Virginia has issues. Houston is what Houston is. TCU, nice win, but can you trust TCU? No, can't do that. Texas Tech can't stop anybody. Cincinnati's better than I thought. That game looks a little bit more difficult for Iowa State.
I would agree with that. That was a note I took this week too. That they're one of the teams that probably is considerably better than we thought they would be.
100%. I think they are better, and they've got some guys on offense that I did not realize they had. But I don't know what Oklahoma State is not as good. I mean, that was a hapless showing for them. They can't do much at all, right? For Mike Gundy, the last 2 games, it's been brutal to watch. So,
what is the Ollie Gordon thing's crazy?
It is. Nick, I don't know. He's like they're accusing him of not running hard anymore and like protecting his stock and
Brent, and I don't know enough about it. There's something to the culture conversation, and it's a buzzword, and we often overuse it when we don't know what we're talking about.
Yes, that's
I
a fact.
think we be in the media because
Yeah.
I don't know how. Like everybody was saying, UNLV had a bad culture all week, and then they go out and kick Fresno's ass without their quarterback. And you're right. Like, so it's like we don't really truly know what's going on in these locker rooms. But I'm just going off of Gundy's whole deal on the drunk driving thing, and like the body language and more importantly to me, I feel like that fan base is on edge with him right now, and I'm wondering if all the extra stuff has kind of caught up. I don't know. I really don't know.
And it's interesting you say that because we were having the exact same conversation about them last year at this time, and then they turned it around and they won like 7 games in a row. Now I don't think that's happening this time. It's just this is going to be fun. Every single week's going to be like, I don't know what to expect, which makes it chaotic. I mean, there are scenarios. I mean, we were both getting text messages from people today of like, man, could BYU win out? Could Arizona win out? Could Iowa State win out? Like all these things, nobody knows for sure. There is no Georgia and Alabama that are just, or Texas that are just going to beat everybody.
Hey, I will say this: the Arizona team, I was pretty hard on them in my preseason projections. They're better than I thought they would be. I knew about their skill players and those guys coming back. I do. They did show me something.
That was a tough-minded win. I totally agree.
And that place was loud. Like they were ready for them.
I was very impressed with Coach Brennan, that their resiliency there, and they're a team that's still going to hang around because keep in mind that loss they had to K-State was a non-conference game.
Yep.
That game is going to be, it's going to trick people up all season long. They have not lost a conference game yet, and so they now have the best win of the conference by winning at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So Arizona's now a factor. It's just on and on.
Which
and
would be a tiebreaker potential down the road for Iowa State if Iowa State would drop a game to Utah potentially because they don't play Arizona.
Yeah, so there's a scenario where Iowa State could go, let's say 11-1, lose to Utah, Arizona loses another game, but because they had the tiebreaker on Utah, they get in over.
Oh, these tiebreakers are going to be
a disaster.
It's
when you have this many teams and there are no divisions, it's going to get super kooky. It's going to get kooky at the end of the year. I have no doubt about it. So what does it come down to? I mean, you look at Iowa State. And you can run down the schedule sheet up, and we might as well do that right now. Iowa State is a 14.5-point favorite over Baylor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State goes to West Virginia next week, probably a 5-point favorite, I would say. 4 to 5.
It'll be under a touchdown, but well, I don't know. I will say this as a guy who follows power ratings very closely. I think the odds makers are still stumped by the portal era.
Yes.
I'm just saying the ratings are moving. They're skewing much more than they used to. Like it used to be like a team would never move more than like 2 points in a week. And you'll see, I mean, I don't look today. I guarantee Colorado's power rating went up like 7 or 8 points.
Oh,
after that win.
Yep.
Rightfully so. I don't know. I mean, but it feels like, I mean, they did that with, with Iowa State a couple of times, like where they've jumped. Like they jumped a lot after the Arkansas State win.
Yep, because the offense, stepped up in a big way, and that's the thing. Like you look at Iowa State now,
and they don't like Baylor either. By the way, I think that they are factoring in the coach thing, the power ratings.
Yeah, I mean, even the raw data likes Iowa State, but if I'm looking at ESPN's FPI, and Iowa State's 23rd in that, so. Vegas, Chris, I would say Vegas likes Iowa State more than the ESPN raw data has right now, and I think that is because it's a balanced group, I would say. But yeah, so you go down the line here, 2 touchdown favorite against Baylor. I'd say 4 to 5 favorite at West Virginia. I think UCF is probably 8 or 9 now if they ever play that game tomorrow. Texas Tech at home is probably 12.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At Kansas is probably 8. I
mean, and who knows what their whole situation will be like then? Like, where does Kansas go? Let me look at their schedule real quick. At Arizona State, this weekend.
We'll guess the point spread here in a little bit, but I would guess Arizona State's favored.
They get Houston at home.
Yeah.
They have to go to Kansas State and then Iowa State. Like, you're looking at that could be a bad situation in Lawrence.
It's not going the right. They looked awful they just looked awful yesterday.
It's weird. It's like totally anti-Leipold what's going on over there.
And then, so Cincinnati at home, again, they're better. I still think that'll be 11 or 12, a point favorite for Iowa State. At Utah, okay, that's hard. And then K-State's probably a 3-point Iowa State favorite right now.
Iowa State's favored by a field goal in that game.
But so the point is,
well, they were even going into this week. I saw this. So you're looking at a 3-point Jack Trice Stadium. So yeah,
that's what I would say those two play on a neutral field. It's dead even right now. K-State and Iowa State. So what does that all mean? It means that you're going to be an underdog in one game the rest of the way. And that doesn't mean you're going to win all of them, but this has shifted even since the preseason when we thought Iowa State would be, favored in most of these games, but those were 2 to 5 to 6 points. Now you're talking about 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 point spreads. And that, this sets up really well for Iowa State. However, as UCF and Colorado proved, as Arizona and Utah proved, point spreads don't mean everything. Like, you still got to suit it up. And there was at halftime, I wasn't alone in being nervous, I think, because all you need at halftime, if Iowa State would have, muffed a punt or, had a turnover there in the third quarter, then the Utah, there was that one play that almost turned the game around for them, or Houston, excuse me. That quarterback had that scramble, and they ended up getting called for a hold.
Yeah.
That brought it back.
Yeah, Chris,
If that gets down and if they score there, that's an entirely different game. Now, Iowa State was disciplined, didn't turn the ball over, did a lot of solid things yesterday. But I think that you're just going to play in some of these games where the momentum can swing drastically one way or another throughout, and you do not want to give teams life, specifically the Baylors of the world, who are looking for reasons to crumble. And so when you play them at home, it's the same situations. Don't give them a life. And Iowa State did not put Houston away until the third quarter. Against better teams, they're probably behind at halftime, and that game's entirely more complicated.
Couldn't agree more. We'll get to that. Let's thank a couple of sponsors, and then we'll break down what we saw from that game. Colin Newell, my main man, now my co-host on Cyclone Reaction. As we record this, he and Jairel Brock and Jake Rimsberg and Jacqueline Cordova are recording the Inside Zone. That will be on your podcast feeds for Cyclone Fanatic on Monday morning. So they'll give their breakdown of the 20-0 win over Houston. But most importantly, you can purchase all of your insurance from Colin Newell and Farm Bureau Financial Services, saving Bloom and I thousands of dollars. And he's a great guy to go have a cup of coffee with. Colin Newell, former Cyclone offensive lineman. And also want to thank Chappie, Andrew Chaplin. He is your go-to realtor, and he is located in Ames, but he can serve the entire state of Iowa. He is kicking butt and getting a bunch of references from us here on Cyclone Fanatic. What do you have details?
I got one an hour ago.
Oh, really?
My guy Zach from Kansas City says, I'm moving to Ames. Give me Chappie's info.
Yes. Great.
Yep.
I love it when a good plan comes together.
Gotta love
Chappie, main man right there. Also want to thank Jeff Kelderman and Kelderman Manufacturing. Sent us another badass YouTube video over the weekend. If you like cars, trucks, diesel engines, all that cool stuff, go to kelderman.com. They have an awesome YouTube page where they can show you all the great things that they can do with their custom suspensions, all that good stuff. Of course, they do more of the down corn reel, all that good stuff. Kelderman.com today.
Since I know Kelderman listens, I have an idea that I want to run by the Cyclone Nation.
I think I know where you're going here, and Daddy likes it.
The Houston had a helmet car.
No way.
Did they
really?
It's like a little micro machine one. Do you think so? I've got a very talented brother-in-law who works in the College of Design at Iowa State. He is determined to build a helmet car.
Well, I've already been. Did you know I approached Kelderman about this?
No. This is why.
And he said, his direct quote, I texted him and Mark Steck, who works there too, and he said, I just need a helmet.
So my brother will build the helmet.
If he can build the helmet, Kelderman will get he'll take care of everything else.
Okay. You guys, we have just unearthed the newest We Will fundraiser. We're going to make this happen.
And I also need everybody to just hammer Kelderman Manufacturing on like Facebook and Twitter and like put peer pressure on them to make this happen.
Yes, because if he could give me a souped up machine that I could,
well, we can take care of that, but Kelderman needs the helmet. That's the problem.
Oh no, so my brother-in-law, he works in the College of Design. This is what he does. He does industrial design work.
All right, and design the helmet.
Okay, and then we're gonna throw a little fundraiser fun challenge in this.
Oh,
can you imagine? I don't know how long it'll take to build a helmet car, but you guys, this is gonna happen.
We'll get it for the K-State game Thanksgiving weekend.
I don't know how quickly you can turn around and build a fiberglass helmet, but we're gonna.
I mean, those design students, aren't they supposed to be bright, hardworking?
Just make it a school project. Come on, Matty.
I guarantee our friends at the Ivy College of Business could take care of that in about 2 weeks. If I called Spalding right now and I'm like, Dean, we need a helmet car. I need you to raise the funds with all of your business majors. They would take care of it.
He could raise the funds for sure. But so you guys, this is going to happen. I am determined to bring it back. Now, if Kelderman's on board, that's one more step. Now we just need to peer pressure Jamie Pollard. And I think we can work on that end.
I don't know. They're pretty weird about like space on the sidelines and all that stuff these days, and the injuries and all that crap.
I know. But
yet they still have that concrete that the players can slip on. Like, why haven't they covered that up with something? Can somebody explain that to me? There's got to be a reason.
Well, you're a race. I've always wondered that you're a racing guy. Like, don't they have like those walls that you can crash into? Like those walls are hard.
Yeah, the safer barriers.
Yeah, can they put a safe barrier?
Like the foam. Yeah. Just every time a player has to like run over there, I just like
I get terrified.
They have those cleats on and they're slipping. Can you believe those old pictures of the helmet car too when they used to play on that AstroTurf like that? I mean, talk about a unsafe that we used to play football on in America.
How many concussions just on that thing was rock hard. So Kelderman, thank you in advance. Put pressure on him, please, and then maybe say, Jamie, if we can't get the beer, can we at least get the helmet car?
Speaking of the beer, go out and get your Ames Lager for your tailgate coming up this weekend. Did Houston have a NIL beer down there? You said they had all the beer. Did they have one?
They were selling something called a Cougar Paw.
That had to be. I mean,
and it was not an NIL beer. It pre-existed the NIL era because I looked it up, and it was a nice little red ale. It was good. They had a variety of choices down there. Did not see the NIL beer though.
I indulged in the South Dakota State NIL beer that our main man Batch gave us over the weekend. So what was the rating? Was it solid? It was good. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I mean, it was no Ames Lager, but it was good. It was easy drinking. It was I took a picture of it to send to Coach Hendo over there.
How many Ames Lagers will be consumed on Saturday? Like we need to set the Guinness World Record.
A lot, because the weather's going to be impeccable this entire upcoming weekend. It's going to be a 10 out of 10 on the Bloom scale.
That's right.
Coming up. Looking forward to that. We will get to that. Let's talk about this game. You mentioned that if you're playing a better team, it's probably not 3-0. Listen, like, I'll give Houston some credit. They pinned Iowa State back a few times, which I think got in the head of Iowa State in the play calling. Not in the head. I mean, you're just more strategic when you're in those spots. I'll get nitpicky here that Rocco Becht has not been good in the first half this year for some reason across the board. This is now a thing 4 games in. I'm not worried about it. It's not like this big concern because Rocco has to, and he always recovers and makes big throws. It's not like he's this head case or anything like that. Not concerned about it. They, Newell and I were talking late last night. He feels like the offensive line is progressing. Jalen Travis plays most of the snaps at left tackle yesterday. We did see our guy Trevor Burr come in. Boar?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a wild boar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he came in and
he's moving people.
Well, and I wonder if he's pushing Dylan Barrett.
What?
Because Barrett had a couple of high visibility mistakes. The lineman downfield that pulls back a touchdown, and then he had a bad false start penalty. And And again, like I don't even know if it's fair to call him out on those two things, but I'm just saying that the other kid came in and the redshirt freshman played some, after the fact. As far as the offense goes, Jaden Higgins is a cheat code right now. Get him the ball. Bramer is not involved in the offense as much as I would like to see.
Agreed.
And then the running back situation, I feel like we could have a 30-minute conversation on. So what's your synopsis of the offense?
Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel remain, when healthy, as good a duo as there is. And Jalen went out with a cramp and didn't play much at all in the second half. I thought Rocco missed him a couple times in the first half, which would have been really big plays and just a little bit off. Iowa State moved the ball okay. It just seems like there was something, a hiccup here or there early in the game where they were just not connecting. But you look at the raw numbers, Iowa State ends up running for 257 yards on.
Yeah. No, I know. That's the thing. You look at the box score, and it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And then that's, the Sama run was the big chunk play there. But Jalen Jackson, a big chunk play. I thought he looked great again. Carson gave you something. I think let's talk about the running backs because we know what the receivers are. If I want to get nitpicky, I would like to see Eli Green and
yeah. I'll be nitpicky about one thing. I voiced this during halftime. I am not a fan of the 3 tight end set. I know it serves its purpose. Players, formations, plays. They like those guys. It just makes it so much easier for a defensive coordinator. But I also think they were doing that in many times out of necessity, not because that's what they wanted. I'm not trying to claim that I know more football than these guys. I come from the Mike Leach school of offense, and after that 2021 season ruined me on 3 tight end sets. I don't think I'll ever be a fan of a 3 tight end set after that. And I think Iowa State has so many athletes. Like you talk about Green and man, that Carson Brown looked great.
Yeah.
Nothing against the tight ends, but I want to see the athletes out wide in space. That's what I'm looking for.
I do wonder if it just, when you're there, it was clear that Houston was not going to be able to move the ball. Like,
yes.
100%, they had nothing going. They couldn't throw the ball. It was actually kind of glaring how awful that Chris was as a quarterback. Like, it looked like.
The other guy wasn't very good either.
No, Donovan wasn't very good either.
Jeez.
So I wonder if it got to the point where Matt and Mouse were like,
I know what they were doing. They were saying, we're not going to make the big mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know what they were doing.
Because it became pretty clear in that, third quarter and beyond that Houston was just not.
Well, Brent, what was so frustrating is because you knew once Iowa State got up 2 scores, the game was over.
100%. I let everybody in my section know that, hey, this, you can go home now if you want to.
First 1 to 10 wins because you knew I'm not right very often. I said this in my halftime show, go pull it. I said, if Iowa State gets up 2 scores, they're going to have to pass and they're going to start turning it over because those guys can't throw.
They shouldn't throw.
Yeah, so you're right. I completely agree with you that was the mindset last night was don't make a big mistake.
And he didn't, and Rocco didn't. I guess that's the good thing is he didn't really have a ball that was even close to being intercepted. It was weird because early in the game, I thought Iowa State was moving it well, moving guys up front and moving the ball. And then Abu would go backwards for a couple yards and they'd have a penalty. And it just felt a little bit off. But Chris, I agree. When you start facing some more talented teams on offense, like you're going to see this week, Baylor has a decent offense.
Yeah.
They got some guys. I think getting some of those receivers more action early could help. And Iowa State missed Steve O'Closs. I mean,
big time.
He is just kind of a glue guy that he makes everything just run a little bit better when he's in there. Nothing against Burkle and the rest of them, but I just think, Klotz being out was an adjustment early for Iowa State as well. They weren't able to get Moore and Burkle into that tight end game much. And then, the Bramer thing is weird to me. He played a lot. It just didn't seem like they targeted him much yesterday. So I think that's a weapon that when you start facing better teams, you have to go to your best athletes, and he's definitely one of those. I don't know if Ben's dinged up. I know he was a couple of weeks ago, but you have to get 18 more involved more often as the league slate goes on here.
He might be your most unique weapon.
He's too good. Correct. Yeah. He's too good. Now, this game, it didn't matter as much, but when you start to get in these one possession games late, that's where, that big tight end can come into play like he did against Iowa.
Yeah, and Mauser knows this. He's a tight ends guy. Like,
For sure.
This isn't. I'm really not. I'm not going to overreact to anything with the offense. I think it's just fine. The slow start thing is clearly an adjust. I don't know if it's an adjust. I don't know what it is. I don't understand it. They frankly, they had the false start. You should have been up 7-0
Yep.
early, and then it's they pin you back, and then you're back on like the 2, and then you call plays differently, and like everybody's a little more tight. Like, I'm really not that concerned.
And then Kyle did miss that one field goal. That should have been an extra 3 in there too. So
yeah. But I just I see progress with the line. I have faith in the quarterback. I absolutely love the skill players across the board. I love the running backs. I wonder if they're. I don't know. Are they rotating too much? Because it does feel like there's not a lot of rhythm there, but I'm not. I don't know. Like, I'm guessing with Matt's history, the deeper you get into the season, the less of that you'll see. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking through all this. Sama, I thought it was huge that he hit that run.
Totally agree.
To keep him engaged, and as far as confidence goes, for that swagger, because there were a lot of people tweeting at me going, why is he playing? Well, that's why, because he can make a play like that.
Yeah.
He can hit a grand slam when you need it. That's why he's playing. And that was big to me to see Abu put that in the end zone.
No doubt. His high end is higher than anybody else's. I believe that in the running back crew. He has just not been consistent enough. And I thought that's where Jalen Jackson in particular has been really good. It just seems like whenever Jalen has the ball, he's getting at least 3. He's going to just – where Abu's always looking for the home run, maybe sometimes to his detriment where he's, stretching plays outside or trying to bounce it when it's not there. And
Carson now is kind of developing a niche as the power back.
Correct.
Which is weird, but he's big.
He's a big dude. Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought that a year ago that's going to be his role, but I feel like if you're going to run the ball on 3rd and 2, he's the guy I want with it.
Yep. They used him a couple times, and Iowa State was really good on 3rd down yesterday, by the way, which is great. That's a great
defensively
sign.
Too. They go 1 of 10 on 3rd down. Elite.
So there are some things. Again, you get a game like that, and yeah, it wasn't perfect. But for Abu, I thought it was critical 2 ways. One, he had the confidence builder, but 2, it was right up the middle. Because I think he's been kind of stuck of trying to bounce everything. It was almost good for him to see, hey, if I just be patient up the middle, let the thing develop. That's what made, in my opinion, Breece Hall so special. It wasn't just his breakaway speed, which everybody saw. It was ability to be patient and turn a 2-yard gain into a 6. Or 4-yard into a 9, into 11, or just always get extra yardage. And that's what's going to make Abu from a really good back to a great back. And I thought that last run where he went to the house was much better patience and ability to stick with it rather than panic and just bounce it out.
Cool play by Hufford there.
That was great. Yeah, he's like, go that way. Go that way.
That was neat.
And this was hard to tell they ran right at me. I was in that corner of the end zone. Abu was looking the whole time up at the video board.
Oh, he was
because the guy.
Because I thought he was like letting up at the end, but no, he must have seen that he had that guy covered.
He had that guy, but then he at the very last second started to kind of angle the other way because he was looking up there. It was actually kind of fun to see in real time how
that's awesome.
He used the technology to his advantage there.
Very cool. Defensively, Iowa State pitches a no-hitter. The tackling numbers weren't great on Pro Football Focus. I think. If you watched the game, you saw that was kind of a case. But I don't know. Man, I knew that the Houston offense would be one-dimensional. I didn't think it'd be quite that much. And they were really that power running game was it had its moments, right? Like this wasn't this blowout as far as total yardage goes. But again, like we've just seen this so much, and I guess you could say this for a lot of defensive coordinators, but when a team is one-dimensional, John Haycock does not lose very often. And you just knew when they were running the football the way that they did in the first quarter that John would ratchet up some run blitzes, get more aggressive, and he did. And those safeties, Bo Freeler and Malik Verdon and Jeremiah Cooper, I'm guessing that some of those SEC teams can compete, but that, what a hell of a combination of safeties that Iowa State has, and they were stars last night.
Great point. I made a note on my phone. It was the second quarter, and it was kind of it was at that point where it's like, everything's looking kind of iffy. Bo Freeler made like 4 straight plays that were just pure hustle plays. Like
I made the note at halftime. I'm like, how did he get better?
Correct.
Right? Usually guys, when they play as much as he does as a junior, they don't make that big of a jump from junior to senior. He's made a big jump. Or was he just that hurt?
Whatever. He was unbelievable in that first half in particular, where he was everywhere. It's just like, oh no, here goes there. He was getting out the back door, and nope, there's Bo. Bo was there to rescue it almost every time. You're right. I think Verdon's playing awesome football, and then Jeremiah Cooper. You don't notice it because they don't really throw at him much. He is an elite cover safety.
Yes,
and he has a long NFL career upcoming as a nickel back at the very least. It was nice for him to have that interception late in the game too. You're right. There's not a collection of 3 safeties better in the Big 12. Maybe Georgia, Alabama, those have them.
Yeah.
But based on the calls all 3 of those guys got, Georgia, Alabama, those schools were very much interested. Texas in those guys. So they are, just like back in the 90s, Kelvin Cato was an eraser on the basketball floor. Those 3 are erasers. They fix a lot of mistakes that happen up front. And, oftentimes there aren't that many mistakes. I thought Caleb Brzezina in the second half was great. Cooper Ebel came in and played really well. And then we got a note at one point in the second half, Iowa State had 4 true freshmen on the field at the same time on defense, which is mind-boggling for a team that's really good on defense.
A couple other notes for me. Zamir Hawk stands out. I thought that was his most substantial game as an Iowa State Cyclone. I think he took 22 snaps or 17 snaps, something like that, on the line. That's good for depth later in the year.
Yep.
And I think Orange gets a lot of talk, but we probably haven't talked about J.R. Singleton enough. He was a man amongst boys last night, really, really a disruptor. 58 was in the middle.
Another good example, kind of like Bo, of you didn't know if he could get better. He has been better this year. He is a big time defensive stalwart in there, and a super good dude. Love JR, but good to mention that because he was great. And then once again, your guy John Tez Williams continues to just be a dude.
I was glad to see him get that pick too, just to reward him because he's come up and stopped the run a lot. I thought that the young linebackers probably had their worst game, which is awesome considering that it was still a shutout, right? They didn't play poorly. I think that they probably, that was different than Iowa's running attack was considerably different than that because you had this running quarterback and it was just a weird, kind of a weirder matchup than I told you on Wednesday, I thought Fritz would just go in there and try and shorten that thing and do exactly what they did. But man, it was more extreme than I was ready for. And I just wonder if it caught anybody off guard, especially early. But that's a game that Brzezina and Ebel and Bo Goodwin took a lot of snaps in that football game too.
How many did Goodwin end up getting? He was out
17.
There. Okay.
So he played about 2 full series.
So the other
for Jacob Ellis.
Brzezina and Goodwin were the linebacking true freshmen. In the secondary, Marcus Neal and Quentin Taylor each played as true freshmen.
Yep.
Which is really impressive for those guys to see the field already and know that the coaches are super, super excited for
in a conference road game.
In a road game, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good. When I say I think it was their worst game, that's a compliment because they still shut the team out. And I'm glad, right? You don't want those guys to be perfect all the time. You want to be able to take them into film and beat them up a little bit because there is so much to learn. I will say this. I said this on my post-game show. I think that Ebel and Brzezina, you're a better Iowa State historian than me. I can get caught in the moment. I watched the game again today. I think that as a true, I'll just say this about Brazina, my tag team partner. Evil has been in the program for a little bit longer, but
Yep.
I think I think the combo at this stage is better than Knott and Klein were at that age. Okay, AJ Klein was a 12-year pro. Like, I don't know if they'll be there. Jake Knott, one of the great Cyclones in history.
And would have been a long-time NFL guy if he didn't get hurt.
Yes. I think that Brazina, as a true freshman, is better than any of those guys were. Rose. I don't know what he projects to be. I don't know. I'm not smart enough. I'm just saying, like, the plays he's making right now in his body type, like his size, where he is at physically, I think he's the best one as a true freshman. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Rose was uber productive as a freshman.
I know I'm biased too.
I get it, but you're right. From a side, just size, speed, and physicality, I don't know if I've seen a better true freshman. And again, can you stay healthy? That position, you take a beating, and I think it wore on all those guys you just mentioned. By the way,
absolutely it did, especially Jake.
Yeah, it can wear on you. But
Jake was playing with one arm his senior year.
And then Mike was hurt. Rose was hurt for a better part of his senior year too. I mean, it's just the nature of it. But yeah, I cannot be more impressed with the true freshman than that guy. And to be playing, this is what I was talking with a buddy last night. He's playing Caleb Bacon's position. He wasn't. Yeah, he didn't.
They switched positions for him.
He did not practice that all fall. He was at the other linebacker spot. So to do that, to think that Iowa State is doing this on defense, what are they? They're allowing 7 points per game, which is 4th in the country. This is great. I love this. Here are your top defenses in the country from a scoring defense. You ready for this, guys?
Let's go.
Number 1, Ohio State.
Yep. They're a good program.
Number 2, Texas.
They're not bad.
Number 3, Tennessee.
They're okay.
Number 4, Iowa State.
The Iowa State University.
Iowa State, top 5 defense right now. And that's for as much youth on that defense to be there. And again, it's who you've played a little bit too. Like, you haven't exactly talent.
I mean, Iowa and Houston are like, the thing is, Iowa and Houston do what you can't do against Haycock. And, I mean, Iowa, I don't know what Iowa's going to end up being, but that day they couldn't throw. And I think they'd have a hard time throwing against Iowa State again if they played too.
So I think the defensive numbers are a little inflated by the opponent. Do you know what I think is deflated is the offensive numbers, because these games have been really ball control heavy. The numbers for Iowa State's offense have not been as gaudy on that end. So I think both will adjust here over the next couple of weeks as you start playing better offenses. It's going to mean more possessions, which means more opportunity for everybody. I'm really anxious to see how Iowa State does against a Baylor team that we know has players. They got some guys that can really do it in the open field. Are they physical enough? Is Baylor? I don't know. I think that's the question for them. But I think this is another really good test as you build on game after game. And there's no question Baylor has the guys to make this very competitive on Saturday. And we'll see what kind of maturity Iowa State has to handle success. Because now you're 4-0 for the first time since 2000. Matt Campbell's getting all the kudos, as he should. But you're going to be favored by 2 touchdowns. So this is a game that if you're a really good team, you put them away. But you got to be mature about it, too.
I'd like to encourage everybody to go to movewhatmatters.com, and you can click over on the right-hand side of the page. Pops over. It says make a gift. And you can give a gift anywhere you want on the university campus. I actually got a nice letter in the mail from my friends at the Iowa State University Marching Band thanking me for my continued support of the band. Got that earlier this week. Thank you to the Marching Band for sending that very nice note to me and my family.
I get to talk to the journalism students on Tuesday.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. They don't ask me.
Well, they're doing a segment on NIL. In the sports media class. So I'm going to speak to the kids. Any messages you want me to share about your words of advice?
No.
Don't do it. Don't do media.
Get a degree.
Get a degree in the Ivy College of Business. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not telling them to drop their degree, but also get another degree in the Ivy College of Business. That would be my advice.
All right, perfect.
I tell them all that. Like I'm not just saying that. Like it's good to have a backup. That's all I'm saying. Well, Bloom, we have gotten to the point in the program where this is where everybody gets fired up. This is what everybody listens to Williams Bloom Sunday for, because they want Bloom's takes on the point spreads.
They want the sacks.
And they want our friend Mr. Randolph, we called him Boots back in the day, rolling through your car stereo, however you're listening. Are you watching on YouTube?
I was in the Houston men's room in the third quarter. And I am an elite bathroom break timer, because the key is, if you understand when the media timeouts are going to be, you beat everybody to the punch.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's that internal clock that I have. Anyway, I'm in there. There's one other gentleman in there, and I'm washing my hands, and he goes, "Bloom, love the sacks." And he just walked out.
Nice.
I was like, well done.
I love it.
Yeah, love the sacks.
Try webwise.com, the Webwise Solutions. I hired these guys a handful of times to basically build. I don't like the word cheap. The word cheap's not right, because it's not a cheap, it's a high quality WordPress website. Try webwise.com, the Webwise Solutions, baby. They do a great job. They are huge fans of the Cyclones and the Guess the Point Spread segment here on the Williams and Bloom Pod. All right, Bloom, we work our way into week 6 of the college football season. Let me filter in my little Big 12 filter here, and let's get after it. We've got a Friday night game.
Ooh.
The Cougars from Houston have a short week. They've got to go across the state of Texas to Fort Worth and take on the Horned Frogs from TCU. 6:30 kick.
Is this FS1?
I don't know. This doesn't give me TV times.
Well,
I'm sorry.
So is the plan still to do the Friday night in the RV Village, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I didn't know.
Why wouldn't we?
Well, the night game, it's you go. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure
It's the only night I get to party.
Okay. So this is the RV Village special, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the RV Village special. Absolutely. It's always nice to get a Big 12 game in an RV Village.
It is. I love it.
Weekend.
It's the best. 13.5.
18.5.
Oh, Houston, we have a problem. We don't have an offense.
Yeah, that would be the case. I'm gonna have to finagle around my normal website. We're missing point spreads for a couple of these things, but we'll take care of it for you here. The what about real quick? Guess Iowa at Ohio State, just for you and me.
Well, based on history, anytime they play a ranked team, doesn't end well for them. I'm going to say this is 20.
21, not bad. West Virginia is at Oklahoma State.
They are. Keep an eye on this one. Because what obviously Iowa State goes to Morgantown next week. Oklahoma State is a 5-point favorite.
5.5. Well done. That's a winner. I'm wondering if we're missing some lines so far, like for injuries or something. Like I'm having a hard time with a couple of these, but I will come back to them.
We're gonna have to go back to another website.
Well, I'm working through it. Okay, Central Florida is at Florida.
Oh man, Florida's a 4-point favorite.
2.5. I'll give you that, because there is one sports book that has it at 3.5 right now.
I'll take it. I'll take the dub.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
We low key guys. We want UCF in that game. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, that's true. So we need to be rooting against what? BYU?
Who do they play?
Well, they don't play this weekend, but I'm just saying in general, you're just starting to root against these teams, right? Or is it
maybe? I mean, it's still kind of early to know who. Like that's what the point is. Like I don't know. Teams 13 to 3 are all kind of like the same right now, so it's going to maneuver a lot. I would say, based on history, anytime K-State can lose and Utah can lose, I know those two schools are going to be there at the end, so I'm 4 losses to them.
Don't
Everybody
overreact.
Yeah, everybody else, I'm like, I don't really know yet.
I understand. I am pulling up a new website here real quick. Did you see the Iowa State spread?
I did. 14.5. Is that what stayed there?
Yep. All right, here we go. Kansas at Arizona State.
Oh, I think this is a pick'em.
Arizona State -3.
Oh.
Lance Leipold's fallen off the planet. Is Lance okay?
Not great.
Believe it or not, that's it for Big 12 point spreads next week. Quiet week in the Big 12. We're going to give you a little top 25. We had one friend wants us to extend this segment. He wants more. He can't get enough guess the point spreads on Sunday nights.
We are here to serve.
Let's see if there's any sexy ones here. Former Big 12 matchup, Missouri at Texas A&M.
Oh.
Have you seen Missouri's schedule?
Not really. I haven't really looked at them.
Let me give you their schedule real quick.
Okay.
They have the easiest Power 5 schedule in the country.
And they got so lucky over Vanderbilt. My gosh. Completely.
Their schedule, so they played Vanderbilt. They've played Boston College at home. They've played Buffalo at home. They have to go to Texas A&M, which is probably their toughest game. Well, all things considered. They play Massachusetts on October the 12th. They get Auburn. They get Alabama at home. They get Oklahoma. They got to go to South Carolina, to Mississippi State, and Arkansas at home. Is that not the easiest schedule you've ever heard for an SEC? Because if they just lose to Alabama, you're 11-1. You're in the playoff.
Yeah, they could probably even go 10-2, and because they started in the top 10, they'll still probably get in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a joke.
So, speaking of a joke, I have a beef to pick with an individual member of the media.
Okay.
I don't know this person, but just for the sake of conversation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
No, that's okay. This gentleman writes for the South Bend Tribune.
Let's go.
Who's in South Bend? Notre Dame.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, well,
first one that came to my mind. The mayor.
He has Notre Dame 10th on the poll. All right. He has Iowa State 23rd. He has Michigan 11th. And it's just like, guys, what are we doing with continuing to rank these brands just because they're brands? And the point is, like with Notre Dame, and you know this, if they end up ranked in the top 15, they're going to get in the playoff.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just
all these Big 12 fans out there right now. They're like, oh, well, I'm telling you guys, like, they are going to bury us.
I'm getting less excited about, like, the game seems like it's already getting a little bit rigged because
I tried telling you
when you
like,
rank,
what did you expect?
Well, I know, and I knew it was going to happen.
These guys they've been projecting this for years that they were going to do this.
So what people say, it's like, well, it doesn't matter what the AP poll says. It's what the committee does. The issue is the committee will use their little mental tiebreaker based on what the AP poll is.
Well, and so let me tell you a story. I'll turn off Yakety Sax for this because this is the God's honest truth. I had a guy, some troll on Twitter, and he was trying to get at me, and it didn't because I think through this stuff.
Yeah.
And he was mocking me for commentating on the game from my basement. Okay. And it's like, whatever. There was a point in my career where I would have taken offense to that. Like, because there was a point in my career where I thought that, I have to be at the stadium in the working press box to be able to do my job. The reality is, to quote our friend Matt Campbell, I can do my job considerably better when I'm sitting here in my office with 3 televisions and I'm able to watch every game. I can be so much more enlightening for our audience and for my subscribers. Other than getting Matt for 6 minutes after the game, like, would I like to be able to ask Matt questions? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the other advantage is to tune in on injuries of people leaving the
absolutely.
field. Like that's
Yeah, like there are advantages, and I would love Cyclone Fanatic to be able to have the funding to send Rob or Connor to every game. But I'm telling you, like, when we get back to the poll, I'm going to make
Yeah.
a point here.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
about me, but this is but I've learned this, that it makes me better at my job to be able to take in all of the games from 11 o'clock until midnight, as opposed to being at the stadium all day. And that's what these AP voters have going against them.
Yeah.
They have to have that poll in at like 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. It's not possible for them to all be in press boxes, many of them traveling all weekend, and be able to actually watch the games. They can't watch the games.
My thing was like a Notre Dame though. They lost at home to Northern Illinois. How in the world? I don't think that they lost a game. You have the BYU's, the Iowa States that haven't lost yet.
Yeah, they didn't lose to Georgia.
It wasn't Georgia. Like I understand Alabama, Georgia. Like I'm not that's fine. Like keep Georgia in the top 5. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm even okay with Michigan still being in the top 20 after they just got buried by Texas. Like fine. I can see the argument. Notre Dame lost at home to Northern Illinois, and this gentleman who just happens to work for the South Bend paper has them 10th in the country. Like it's just
I don't know what
because it's the you're relying on human beings to do the job. Now, am I saying that robots should do it? No, I like having some context here, but at the same time, I'm starting to trend towards you. You're going to have these tiebreaker situations. Number one, the SEC is going to play one last conference game, which is a joke to begin with, and then they're all going to say, "Oh well, this is the toughest league in the country, and so we deserve."
They're going to say, "Did you watch Alabama and Georgia? This league's so much better."
Yes, that's exactly.
They won't say like watch Vanderbilt and yeah,
like
I mean, I watch South Carolina games every week. I can tell you, not every game is like Georgia, Alabama. I promise you.
This same guy has Ole Miss ranked 12th, and it's just like they just lost a home game to an unranked Kentucky team. Like it's just very frustrating that you almost have to. The benefit of the doubt is so much on the side of the schools that start in the top 15. You have to basically be Florida State and be god awful to get yourself out of there.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't represent a great system. But
boy, that deal changed fast.
It did. Nothing about college athletics does make sense a lot of days, and listen, I understand that. It's just very frustrating when it feels like you're watching the system already work to the system's advantage for those that get the most out of the system anyway.
It's rigged.
Yeah, it is.
It is rigged. And this is why I have all these Big 12 fans who've just been hounding me for a year now. It is rigged, and guess what? We are no longer on the side where we benefit from it anymore.
If Iowa State loses to Kentucky at home, Iowa State is nowhere near the top 25.
Absolutely not.
This guy still has Ole Miss at 11. Why? Who has Ole Miss beaten? Oh, they were ranked high in the preseason. They have talent. It's like, God, come on.
Well, let me tell you, I don't know who this guy is. Do you think that he got home from the Notre Dame game? He covered it all day, probably got to the press box 3 hours before kick, probably got out of there, if he's lucky, 3 hours after kick, drives home. If there's any traffic, you got to get through it. I have no idea where he lives, assuming they're in South Bend. Do you think he just DVR games for 10 hours to be able to put his... No, hell no. They don't... It's impossible, and I don't even really blame the writers. I'm saying it's a bad system.
I agree.
They should have better people voting on this thing. It should be people who are actually watching all of these games. And I don't know who that is. I'm not saying it should be me. I'm saying like that just put the beat writer from... what, like it's a bad way to do this.
And the other thing I will say is it would be a hard job to do. And like you,
absolutely,
this guy has people from Iowa, like us Yahoos pick. And I'm not saying it individually. His is a microcosm of the bigger problem with the system.
You think this is bad? Try voting for college basketball.
It's just
impossible. It's impossible to do well unless it's like the only thing you do. And then you're like, well, let's put the coaches in charge because they're the ones they're just watching their game and who they're playing. They are not. You think Matt Campbell got home last night and watching the Hawaii games? No.
But I will say this. Noted
Matt might because he's insane. But
noted Big 12 lover John Wilner has Iowa State 11th. And
I
then
saw
our guy
McMurphy had him
McMurphy's in
9.
ninth. Yep, he had him ninth. So there you go.
But like I take like McMurphy, a guy like that, absolutely should be voting. Because he's literally sitting around and that's all he's like.
That's
It
what
should
he's
be
doing.
Phil Steele, Brett McMurphy. Those guys are the ones should be voting on this thing. The days of like the local newspaper beat writer controlling how the sport is, it's insane.
Yep.
It should be the
Totally.
Vegas guys, really.
Yeah, and even then, I tend to agree. The issue is the Vegas people don't care if you win or lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
but
everything is.
I'm not saying all of them, but I get your point. Like the wins and losses have to matter. Like it shouldn't be like, oh, they cover all the time. I get what you're saying.
And that's what's
But
frustrating.
what I'm saying is they're watching more football than the beat writers are.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree 100. It's just the issue is like Notre Dame is the perfect example of, in my opinion, a loss to Northern Illinois at this point in the season should keep you out of the playoff for the first 5 weeks. Now, can they get themselves back in? 100%. But you are giving them an out already. They now seed up. They have to lose probably twice more to get out of the playoff. And they lost to a MAC school at home. Like, just frustrating that. Why do some schools get the benefit of the doubt? And if Iowa State lost to Northern Illinois at home, they would not sniff the top 25 until week 11.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw that in 2020, right?
Yes.
I mean, similar scenario.
Oh, so all right. Thank you for letting me vent for a day.
Well, no, you led me into one of my most passionate topics is the frickin' AP poll.
I just can't.
Like, the Heisman's kind of the same way. Like, they need to, and I say this as a guy who's, I feel very honored and blessed to be able to vote for the Heisman. Okay, kind of taking a dump in my own backyard here.
Yes.
But they need to wipe out like half the people who vote for that thing. Because it's such an honor. It's like, well, if you won the award, or like some of these guys, like they may not even watch the games anymore. They may not even be in the sport. And it's just, I get it, but there's so many voters.
Yeah. There's like, how many? Like 1,000?
Yeah, I mean, wipe half of them out. Like, I don't know. It's fine. If you got to get rid of me, fine. I'm just saying, like, we need it to be like people who are in the sport and engaged in all this stuff to make sure that it's like it's real and it's not just somebody who's going up and looking up the Vegas odds. Well, that guy's the favorite, so I should vote for him.
Yep. No, you're right. Why don't they just ask
that is the thing too that I think is the biggest sham of all this, and we're talking about the AP voters. I love having a preseason poll because it's part of the fabric of our sport. Okay, we all. I'm not going against that. The idea of having a preseason poll in the portal era is insane. We have no idea. Look at Florida State. Like we have no clue. Like that's why I told you I didn't even vote in the Big 12 preseason poll because I don't know. Like I don't even feel like I have these preseason. Like who the hell are the offensive linemen to vote on? Like this is insane.
And like BYU was picked last, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
We don't
know.
We don't know. Pretend like we know.
Yeah.
And the only issue I have is, and I understand if it's just for drama, the issue is, in my opinion, the preseason poll impacts the rest of the season.
Correct. That's the issue.
That's the issue. And it's not going away. It's just this is me yelling at a cloud. It's just there are real dollars at stake here based on what your preseason reputation is. Anyway.
That's the problem. That
yeah.
Like if Missouri was ranked outside of the top 25 to start, they would be maybe like 21st right now.
Maybe. And instead they're what?
Ninth.
They're
ninth, and now they can lose 2 games to nobodies and still make the playoffs.
Exactly.
And then millions more dollars get funneled into the SEC. Again, this is what I will leave you all with on a Monday. It is rigged. This whole thing is rigged.
And then C-Dub, what do they do with that money? They buy the players from the other conferences.
The whole thing is rigged. And if we're mad about it, try being
Coach
Boise, You're
right.
Like, Jesus.
Fresno.
Yeah, it's impossible.
UNLV.
And that's why I went off last week to Hassel. on Thursday about the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. Like, they're killing each other, and it's like, you idiots. The whole thing is stacked against you anyways. It doesn't matter what you do. You're never going to be a part of their club. You may as well work together.
Do you know who was excited to have the Pac-12 squabbling with the Mountain West? The SEC.
Oh, yeah. They love it.
They just like...
And now they can go, well, we didn't destroy any of those people.
You guys did it yourself.
Yeah. Look, terrible leadership over
Terrible
there.
leadership for you.
Even though they're the ones that destabilize everything.
I know. Oh, fun times.
Man, the last 15 minutes of this podcast are gold. I hope people stuck around for it.
Well,
I've been wanting to get that AP conversation off my chest for a long ass time.
I was on the plane. I'm like, who is this guy? That's literally what I said. But the good news is, guys, if you don't lose a game, you're going to win the whole thing.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Big brain stuff right there.
All right, we'll be back Wednesday morning. I believe we're recording. You never got back to our text.
I think that works for me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Wednesday morning. We'll be back. Jacqueline, Jake, Jirel, and Colin. They've already recorded, so that'll be up on Monday morning. Of course, Woody and Mahoney will have their take. All that great stuff coming up for you as well. Ted Flint and the boys, and Williams and Bloom Wednesday. And then our picks with Timmy Mullen. Timmy Mullen, Nebraska Furniture Mart, goes 6-0 in his picks this week. I hope you all were paying attention. An elite week for all of us. I think we missed 3 games amongst the three of us. So really on fire here. Really feeling good about ourselves. The undefeated 16th ranked first place Iowa State Cyclones. And we'll be back on Wednesday here on Williams and Bloom on the Cyclone Fanatic podcast.